Hi, my name is Stephen, and today is May 16th, 2019. This is episode 2 of Astro Indicator Update, Excursions into Practical Astrology. Here's today's content. Every week we're going to look at the upcoming moon void of course calendar. Today we're also going to look at the astrological transits of James Comey and John Brennan. We'll get into what I call the astro timing dates for Bitcoin. And in the news, we'll look at the astrology of China-U.S. trade tariff announcements. This week's void of course moon calendar. So again, I'll try to be succinct with this. I went into more detail last week, but what is void of course moon? Sometimes I abbreviate it VC moon. What is it, and why is it important? Well, the void of course moon is the period of time that it takes for the moon to fully transition from one sign, astrological sign, to another. For example, from Aries to Taurus, from Cancer to Leo. This occurs every 2.5 days, and sometimes it takes place within minutes, and then on other occasions, it takes hours, even sometimes a full day. Now, why would it be worthwhile to be aware of these transitions in your own calendar? Well, for many people, during a void of course moon, there is a shift in mood, a shift in psychology, in the atmosphere in general. And the key words that I use that seem to match up with my own experience is that there's a sense of disengagement kicks in. It's like shifting into neutral. And these days are actually perfect if you would like to take the day off, rest, play, regroup, take it easy, head for the beach. However, because everyone is experiencing this, a lot of what we're trying to accomplish, if this takes place during the middle of the week, it's more difficult to get our to-do list, to make progress on our to-do list. And sometimes things really go off the rails. Now, in addition to this, traditionally in astrology, starting something new during a VC period is usually considered kind of a bad idea because it creates unexpected and often unwanted results down the line in the future. And so down here I indicate avoid making big decisions. As an example, don't start a new project, a new business contact, don't buy a house, keep your wallet in your pocket, and kind of a classic example would be don't get married. So what are the days coming up next week? Well, on Monday, May 20th, from 10:05 a.m. all the way till Tuesday, early in the morning, so all afternoon and then evening, is a void of course moon. On Thursday, May 23rd, we have a void of course moon early in the morning up until 10:49 a.m., so all morning. Saturday, May 25th, from 5:51 a.m. to 11:08 p.m. So if you have Saturday off, it may seem particularly enjoyable. But I would pay attention to these other times if these are work days for you. Again, all of this is in Pacific Daylight Time, so you have to make the conversion. And I would just recommend, note these in your calendar and judge for yourself. Okay, here's the chart of James Comey. It is in the inner ring here. This is called a bi-wheel chart. I don't have his birth time, but we can tell a lot from just looking at the transits which are in the outer ring, the current positions of the planets. And then we examine the relationship between the two. And he has some interesting things going on, which doesn't surprise me. He has Uranus opposite Moon Neptune. So this is the transit of Uranus right down here. and it is currently exactly opposite his natal moon and Neptune. In addition, it is 90 degrees away from his Venus. So it's kind of creating what's called a T-square to his Venus. Okay? This is what I've set up here, T-square to Venus. In addition, he has the transit, the current position of Pluto-Saturn in 150 and a 30-degree relationship between Uranus and Sun. So here is Pluto, Saturn, 2320. Here's his Sun. Here's Uranus down here. So a dynamic gets created, and a blending of these energies is created. So let's look at kind of my interpretation of this. So Comey's current status. Well, the Uranus transit stands out opposite his Scorpio moon. And technically, if you're really into astrology, it's actually opposite his Neptune moon midpoint. And everything here is squaring Venus. My interpretation is that he is very aware that his freedom is being threatened, and he's cognizant of the financial and personal cost that will take place if he is prosecuted. Well, that should be obvious. It is obvious, but it really shows up in his astrology. But the point in astrology is that we can tell that this transit is not going away anytime soon. It is going to last well into the fall, well into early next year. Okay? And that's probably the most important point. Continuing, in addition, his own secrets and deceptions are being revealed to the world, which is affecting the image that he usually likes to project. This is represented by Uranus creating upheaval relative to his normal, secretive mode of operation, symbolized by his Scorpio moon. Now, I didn't include this chart, but there's another way of looking at the current time period in a person's life, and it's called the progressed chart. And I'm just going to speak about it here to make this podcast go a little faster. On looking at his progressed chart, he has Pluto progressed opposite his Mercury, his natal Mercury. And this is a big deal. This reflects a subversive way of thinking, a manipulative way of thinking, something that fits both his line of work and possibly his role in spying on President Trump. Furthermore, in his progressed chart, he has the same Uranus theme again, as here it opposes his Sun. So this theme of radical change in who he thought he was and in the direction of his life is clearly apparent. So there's an upheaval going on in what he thought his life direction was, clearly. Again, this is going to continue for a while. So, I don't see anything being resolved quickly. Okay, let's move on to John Brennan, because he's in the hot seat as well. Again, I don't have his birth time, but we'll look at his transits, which are located in the outer ring. Here, he has a strong Uranus transit. A lot of energy going into change in his life. Pluto is squaring Mercury, Neptune. Pluto is in conjunct Pluto, Jupiter. So let's look at this. So here's the transit of Saturn and Pluto, and they're 90 degrees away from his Mercury. Okay? Pretty significant. They're also, it's 150 degrees away from his natal Pluto, Jupiter. And Uranus in this outer ring, which is right here, is basically squaring his natal Uranus and his Chiron. That indicates just a lot of upheaval and change. Here's my overall take. Again, I don't have the exact time of birth in Brennan's chart, but we can ascertain quite a bit from the transits. First, he has Pluto in hard aspect 90 degrees to his natal Mercury. Brennan might be less devious and manipulative than Comey as a general rule, but he's going through a period now in which his mind is working overtime in a very obsessive and calculating manner, focusing on how he can get out from under this investigation. For many people with this Pluto-Mercury transit, their mental stability is usually challenged. So what if this happens for 2 weeks? But this is going to go on for months. I know, because we can look at this transit of Pluto. And it is going retrograde right now, but it's going to come back over the same area later this year. This Pluto transit is also aspecting his natal Jupiter-Pluto position. This is a man with a large ego who is used to dealing with power players. Suddenly, all his prestige is being taken from him. In addition, the transit of Uranus to its own natal position and to Chiron creates an awareness of his vulnerabilities. Uranus is strong in his natal chart, and this is kind of the important point, one of the important points with Brennan. He's used to doing whatever he wants to do, and has been, doing whatever he wants to do has been an assumed privilege, and now all his energies are focused on retaining his personal freedom. Okay, let's move on. So this is Bitcoin, and it's been on a tear, and it may just be pulling back a little bit today. Today's Thursday again, May 16th, sort of midday. We have a couple lines, Astro-Energy dates approaching. One is tomorrow. This is the 17th, if you can see it down here. And the next one would be next Tuesday, May 21st. Now, they're fairly strong, and here it gets a little tricky because you have to combine and blend these vertical astrology signals with the traditional elements in technical analysis, and which are represented here by these blue support and resistance lines and previous trend lines that it broke. And we're right up against, getting up against this blue resistance level here, which is at about 8,400. I'm not sure if the energies are strong enough to get through. My bet is that we're going to trade in this area for a little while. And, I do a different chart every week, a different market every week. But you kind of looking ahead, early June is kind of a stronger, more bullish time period. So it gets tricky right here with a move that we've just had. But with these near-term dates, I feel a little bit biased in thinking that we're just going to trade sideways. Okay, let's move on to our last segment. Okay, this deals with the recent trade announcements by the U.S. and China, and they took place on Friday, May 10th. They're important economically for both countries. Here's a picture of the U.S. announcement, and here's an article noting the Chinese announcement that came shortly thereafter. And I'm going to read just the first couple sentences here. China is digging in for a new battle in its trade war with the United States, declaring Friday that it has no choice but to take necessary countermeasures against increased tariffs on its goods. The declaration was posted on the Chinese Commerce Ministry's website at 12:03 p.m. Beijing time, exactly 2 minutes after the U.S. raised tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods and so forth. Well, we have the exact time, so we can look at the astrology and we can get an inkling whether this is, all for show or if this is real. Well, at least that's how I would use astrology practically in this situation. Is this a performance, or do they really mean business? So we can do a chart for Beijing at, for Friday, May 10th, 12:03, and this is the chart right here. And let's see. I didn't do the buy wheel on this, so you're going to have to trust me on this. But Going back, we have Saturn, Pluto opposite the moon. Okay. Oh, I see. We're not doing a transit chart. We're just doing a chart. Wake up here. We're just doing a chart of that moment and getting an idea of really the true motives behind that event. So here we have in that chart, in the sky at that moment, we have Pluto, Saturn opposite the moon. Okay, a Cancer moon. We have it. Let's see. And we have a T-square being formed. Look at my list. We have a T-square of that opposition to Venus, which is, all these things are very much related to the subject of the event. And we have a Leo, because we know the exact time, we can look at the ascendant, and we have a Leo ascendant. So let's look at my possible interpretation here. Unlike Comey and Brennan, we know the exact time, at least within a couple of minutes. We have a Leo ascendant. This event reflects a lot of pride. It's an issue that concerns the country saving face. Leo is a fixed sign, and the sun in that chart is in Taurus. This energy is a fixed energy as well. So the stubbornness issue is compounded in the astrology of that event. Translated, they mean business. The major aspect in the chart that we just looked at is that Pluto, this is incorrect. Pluto opposite Cancer moon and squaring Venus. This has a lot to do with national security. Cancer moon deals with security. National security, money, a Venus symbol. A sense of crisis, a Pluto symbol. And maybe a sense of betrayal, again, a Pluto symbol. They are deadly serious in making this announcement. They view this as an emergency surrounding money and self-respect. Also with Pluto, there's often a power play or a feeling that one is at the mercy of a power play. In this case, dealing with behind-the-scenes negotiations that affect the currency of their country. It's very, very clear. It's very obvious in the astrology. So the upshot is that the stalemate between the U.S. and China seems very real, in my estimation, as it is a point of pride for them, and it directly affects their security, and it activates their sense of self-protectiveness. Pluto represents manipulation and coercion, which are clearly present. This Pluto-Saturn transit this is a birth moment in this ongoing trade negotiation. Pluto, and so it's sort of a signature event, tit for tat. And the position of the planets in this chart will many of the important ones will return to their same position later this year. So it seems to me that the stalemate here is going to continue, and the differences between China and the U.S. will not be reconciled for many months. Okay? Okay, that's it for today. Here's a list of some of my background. And thank you for watching. I have an art and psychology background, a master's degree in psychology. I've been studying astrology for 40 years, and I used to be an active trader in the financial markets, but I have been applying astrology to the markets for 25 years. I'm basically a hard money and cryptocurrency advocate, but there are more important things in the world. So if you found this information valuable, please subscribe. And I hope approximately to do a podcast on a weekly basis. So thanks again for watching. Bye for now.